Welcome to our deep dive, everybody. Today we're going to be taking a look at autonomous machines,
Oh, cool.
a topic. I think you've been doing some exploring based on the stuff you sent our way,
Yeah.
including some of those clips from the Tech in Tinseltown podcast.
Wow.
And it seems like you're fascinated by how AI is like turning this sci-fi concept into
Yep.
reality. And to be honest, who isn't? We're not just talking about robots just following orders anymore, are we?
No, definitely not.
These machines are making decisions, learning on their own.
It's pretty wild.
They're in our cars, they're
Yeah.
in operating rooms,
Uh-huh.
even on Mars.
It's really interesting because it's like they're not just tools anymore. They're starting to think for themselves.
Yeah.
And it's not just about amplifying our abilities. It's like they're taking on tasks that used to require human judgment.
Right.
So it's like a whole world of possibilities, but also some pretty big questions come up, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. But before we get into all that, I'm kind of curious about something Tech in Tinseltown mentioned. They were talking about autonomous machines and how they're devices that act without any human intervention.
Right.
And they're making decisions based on data, not like pre-programmed instructions.
Uh-huh.
So what makes that so different from robots we've, been using for decades?
Oh, it's a huge difference. Imagine like a factory robot, the kind that welds a car door.
Right.
It's programmed to do that one thing.
Yeah.
But an autonomous machine that could put together the whole car, adapting to all the different parts and learning to be more efficient as it builds.
Wow.
It's not just following instructions anymore. It's way beyond that.
So it's like that self-driving car example they talked about. It's
Right.
not about following some, set route. It's analyzing all that data from the sensors.
Real time.
Yeah, in real time and making split-second decisions based on traffic, pedestrians, even the road conditions.
All at once. It's a whole different level of decision making.
Wow.
And that ability to process all that real-time data
Yeah.
and then change what it's doing, that's what makes autonomous machines so different.
Right.
And we're seeing it in all kinds of industries.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I loved how they gave us that whirlwind tour of how they're already impacting, well, so many sectors.
Yeah, pretty amazing.
Let's start with cars, because that seems to be like the big one, right?
Oh, for sure.
Companies like Tesla, Waymo, Uber, they're all trying to make self-driving cars
Mainstream.
Yeah, like just something everybody has.
Imagine how that would change things.
I know, right? Not just like fewer accidents, but maybe people won't even need to own cars anymore.
Right.
We can have like mobility as a service. It'd be like some high-tech taxi system.
And think about the people who can't drive now because they're too old or have a disability.
Right.
Suddenly, they could go wherever they wanted, whenever they wanted. It's about freedom,
Yeah, it's way bigger than just convenience.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then there's healthcare, and this is where the tech is already doing some crazy stuff.
It's mind-blowing.
They mentioned those surgical robots, like the Da Vinci system. It's like giving surgeons superpowers, doing those really complex operations.
With incredible precision.
Yeah.
It's a great example of machines helping humans do things better, not replacing them.
Right.
The surgeon's still in control, but the robot, it's just so precise, so steady.
Mm.
And beyond surgery, they talked about AI and diagnostics, like those algorithms that can spot diseases.
Really?
Yeah, like cancer, just from looking at scans.
Wow.
And in some cases, they might even be better than human doctors at finding it.
That's amazing. But it does make you think about, what happens to doctor? I mean, what happens to their expertise when machines are getting so good at this stuff?
It's a good question. And it's something that's coming up in lots of fields, as AI gets smarter.
Right.
I think the key is to see this as an opportunity, to change roles, to find new ways for humans and machines to work together.
Gotcha. So, next up, we've got manufacturing.
Ah, yes.
And they talked about cobots.
Cobots, yeah.
These robots that work with humans.
Like partners.
Yeah, taking on those dangerous jobs or the boring, repetitive ones.
And they can even learn as they work, thanks to AI.
So it's not just about automation replacing jobs. No, it's about making them better, making them safer.
Exactly. Instead of getting rid of jobs, it lets people focus on the more interesting stuff, the stuff that requires, human skills.
Right, the creative stuff. Okay. And they didn't stop there.
No, they didn't.
They even brought up retail and supply chains.
Uh-huh.
They were talking about how companies like Amazon are using robots in their warehouses and how
Yeah.
AI is like streamlining the whole
Is that
process.
smooth?
Yeah, from managing all that inventory
All of it.
to getting those packages, out the door.
And it's not just the warehouses. Think about self-checkout
Right.
or those personalized recommendations you get online.
Yeah, yeah.
Even those AI chatbots, for customer
Oh,
service.
yeah, those things.
Autonomous machines have the potential to change the whole customer experience.
That's pretty wild. They even talked about drone delivery, which, that sounds like something out of a movie.
I
But
know.
it's becoming real.
It is.
Who needs delivery trucks when you can have like a drone drop your package right at your
It's the
doorstep?
future. And in some places, like really remote areas or places that are hard to get to,
Right.
drones could be the only way to get things delivered.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
Okay, moving on, we have agriculture. Tech in Tinseltown talked about drones like flying over fields and collecting data to help farmers,
Yeah.
about crops, about soil.
Make better decisions.
Yeah, and then there's those autonomous tractors and harvesters. They're like completely changing farming.
It's like farming 2.0. We're talking about precision, using technology to use less water,
Okay.
less fertilizer, and get more food.
And in a world where we need more and more food.
Yeah,
I mean, that's pretty crucial.
it is.
And then, to top it all off, they took us to space.
I love that part.
Me too. They were talking about NASA using, autonomous robots and rovers to explore other planets.
Like the Mars Perseverance rover?
Yeah, that's amazing. Space is, well, it's the perfect place for autonomous machines, isn't it?
It is. It's too dangerous for humans, too far away.
Right.
These machines, there are eyes and ears out there.
I know. Okay, so we've got these machines driving cars, performing surgeries, working in factories, delivering packages, changing how we farm, and even exploring space.
That is a lot.
It is. It's clear that this technology is already making a big impact.
Huge impact.
But what's like the magic behind it all? How do these machines actually work?
Well, that's where things get really interesting. The key to understanding all of this is artificial intelligence.
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to dive into that fascinating technology right after a quick break.
Sounds good?
We'll be back in a flash, so don't go anywhere. Okay, so we're back and ready to like really get into the tech that makes these autonomous machines, well, work.
Yeah, the brains of the operation.
Right, and you were about to tell us how AI is like the key to it all.
It is. It's driving all this innovation, and within AI, there are a bunch of different areas that are really important, and Tech in Tinseltown highlighted some of the key ones.
Okay.
They started with machine learning and deep learning.
Yeah, those terms, I feel like they're everywhere.
I know, right?
But to be honest, I still get a little confused. Like, what's the difference?
Oh, sure, I can explain that. So think of machine learning like teaching a computer to learn without, giving it specific instructions for every single situation.
Okay.
It's like showing a kid a bunch of pictures of cat and dogs over and over again until they can tell the difference themselves.
Gotcha.
Deep learning, that takes it even further, it uses these things called artificial neural networks.
Okay.
And they're based on how the human brain works.
Wow.
These networks can analyze tons of data
Okay.
and find these really complex patterns that we might miss.
So in the self-driving car example, is it deep learning that allows the car to to see and understand what the cameras and sensors are picking up?
Exactly. It's learning to know the difference between like a tree and a person or a stop sign and a traffic light,
Right.
all based on like mountains of data.
That's wild. The more data it gets, the better it gets at making the right decisions.
Right. It's constantly learning, getting smarter.
Okay. Tech in Tinseltown also mentioned something called reinforcement learning.
Oh, yes.
How does that work?
So reinforcement learning, that's all about trial and error.
Okay.
The machine tries stuff, and then it gets feedback. If it does something good, it gets a reward. If it does something bad, it gets a penalty. It's kind of like training a dog, with treats and commands.
Yeah.
This is really useful in situations that are always changing, where you can't program the machine for every possibility.
So it's learning to deal with the messiness of the real world, kind of like we do.
Exactly. Figuring things out as it goes.
What other AI stuff did they talk about? Oh yeah, computer vision and sensor fusion.
Ah, yes.
Now those sound pretty high tech.
They are, but they're super important for letting these machines understand what's around them.
Okay.
Computer vision that uses algorithms to look at images from cameras so the machine can basically see. Sensor fusion that combines data from different sensors like radar, LiDAR, GPS
Right.
to create this really detailed picture of the environment.
So it's not just about having eyes, it's about having the brain power to understand all that information.
Exactly. It's got to process it all and make sense of it
Wow, in real time.
all the time.
That's incredible. And then there's natural language processing which lets machines actually talk to us.
Communicate, yeah. Think about Siri or Alexa.
Right.
They use natural language processing to understand what you're saying
Right.
and then answer you back.
But NLP, it's more than just simple commands, right?
Oh yeah, way more. We're talking about machines that can get context, understand the little things in language, even emotions.
Wow. So are we going to be having like real conversations with machines someday? Like ones that really understand us?
It's definitely a possibility. And it raises some really interesting questions. What does it mean to communicate? What does it mean to be intelligent?
It's a little freaky, to be honest.
I know. But maybe we should shift gears a little bit
Okay.
and talk about how this technology is actually impacting different industries.
Yeah, we touched on some of that before the break, but let's dig a little deeper.
Okay.
We started with the automotive industry, the whole self-driving car thing.
Yeah.
What other changes might we see as this tech becomes more common?
Well, imagine if people didn't need to own cars anymore
Okay.
because they could just call up a self-driving car whenever they needed one.
Like a robot taxi.
Exactly. It could totally change our cities.
Wow.
Less traffic, less need for parking lots, and it could lead to new businesses, the companies that manage these fleets of self-driving cars.
It's hard to even picture what that would be like.
I know, right? The possibilities are endless.
Okay, so what about healthcare? It's not just about those cool surgical robots.
No, definitely not. AI has the potential to completely change how we diagnose and treat diseases.
How so?
Well, think about AI that can look at your medical history, your gene, your lifestyle,
Right?
and tell you what diseases you might get,
Wow.
and then give you advice on how to prevent them.
That's amazing. So it's like shifting from just treating diseases to actually preventing them in the first place?
Exactly. It's a whole new way of thinking about healthcare.
Wow. Okay, what about manufacturing? We talked about those cobots working with humans.
Right, right.
How might that change as the technology gets better?
Well, we could see humans and cobots working together, like a well-oiled machine,
Okay.
each one doing what they're best at.
So the cobots could do the heavy lifting, the repetitive stuff,
Yeah.
and the humans could focus on the more creative stuff, the problem solving.
Exactly. It could make work more interesting, more engaging.
That's cool. And in retail and supply chains, we talked about how AI is making things more efficient.
Right.
But what about like the really futuristic stuff? What could happen there?
Ooh, that's fun to think about. Imagine your fridge ordering groceries for you when you're running low.
Really?
Yeah, or drones dropping off packages right on your balcony.
No way.
AI could make shopping so personalized. It could give you recommendations, make checking out super easy.
Okay.
We might even see totally new ways of shopping, things we can't even imagine yet.
Wow. And speaking of things we can't imagine, what about agriculture? We talked about drones and those autonomous tractors.
Yeah, it's future farming.
But how could AI change things even more?
AI could analyze all this data about soil, weather, crop health,
Okay.
and help farmers make really precise decisions about planting, watering, fertilizing.
So it's like optimizing everything.
Exactly, making sure we're using resources wisely and getting the most food possible.
Which is super important as the world's population keeps growing.
It is. It can help us feed everyone.
So it sounds like AI has the potential to make a big difference in so many areas of our lives.
It does.
But before we wrap things up, I'm curious about something. What are some of the bigger implications of all this? Like, what are some things we should be thinking about as these machines become more part of our world?
That's a great question. And it's one that we need to think about carefully. I mean, these machines have amazing potential, but we have to be smart about how we use them.
Right.
We have to be responsible.
And we need to be having these conversations now because the technology is moving so fast.
Exactly. So what are some of the areas where we need to be extra careful?
Okay.
Well, one big one is jobs. I mean, as machines get better at doing things that humans used to do,
Right.
we have to figure out how to make sure everyone has opportunities.
So it's not just about jobs disappearing.
No.
It's about helping people learn new skills.
Exactly. Helping them find new ways to contribute.
Okay, what else?
Another big thing is making sure these systems are ethical, that they're fair.
Right.
AI is getting really sophisticated, and we have to make sure that the algorithms aren't biased.
Okay.
And we need rules, regulations to make sure that this technology is used for good.
I think that's so important.
It is. This isn't just a tech issue. It's a societal issue.
Right.
We all need to be part of the conversation. Not just the tech companies, not just the government, but everyone.
I completely agree. This deep dive has been amazing. It's really opened my eyes to what's possible with these autonomous machines.
It's pretty incredible, isn't it?
It is, and it seems like we're just scratching the surface.
Oh, yeah, we're just getting started. It's going to be interesting to see where things go from here.
I know. So what's the biggest takeaway for you? Like, what's the most important thing to remember about all this?
I think the most important thing is that the future isn't set in stone. It's not like this predetermined thing that's just going to happen.
Okay.
We, as a society, we have the power to shape it, to guide how this technology develops, and to make sure it benefits humanity.
That's a really hopeful way to think about it. We have choices to make.
We do. And it starts with asking the right questions. What do we want these machines to do? What are our values? How do we make sure they're used ethically?
Those are big questions.
They are, but they're important ones, and we all need to be thinking about them.
So to everyone listening out there, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want you to think about this. What role do you want to play in the future of autonomous machines? Don't just sit back and watch it happen. Be a part of it.
Yeah, get involved.
Stay curious, stay engaged, and keep asking questions.
Absolutely. The future's in our hands.
That's right. The future is in our hands. Man, this deep dive into like the whole world of autonomous machines has been wild.
I know, right? It's amazing how much is happening.
We've gone from talking about, self-driving cars to robots on Mars.
And everything in between.
It's crazy to think how far this technology has come and how fast it's still, changing.
Yeah, pace of innovation is incredible.
So Tech in Tinseltown, they made a big point about this, that this isn't just like a tech thing.
Right.
It's a societal shift, and it's going to have a huge impact on the future.
Absolutely. It's about how we live, how we work, everything.
Out of everything we talked about, what was like the biggest takeaway for you?
I think the most important thing to remember is that we have a say in this.
Okay.
The future of autonomous machines, it's not like set in stone,
Right.
It's not something that's just going to happen to us. We can shape it.
So we have the power to guide this technology to make sure it's used in a way that benefits everybody.
Exactly. We have choices to make.
And those choices, they start with asking the right questions.
Right, like what do we want these machines to do for us? What are our values when it comes to AI? How do we make sure this technology is used ethically?
Those are some pretty big questions.
They are, but they're questions we need to be asking, all of us.
Not just like the tech people or the government.
Right, everybody needs to be part of this conversation.
Yeah, it's an ongoing thing, and it's going to keep changing as the technology changes.
The important thing is to stay informed, to think critically,
Right.
and to participate in shaping the future.
So for everyone listening out there, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want you to think about this. What role do you want to play in this future? Don't just, sit back and watch. Be a part of it.
Yeah, get involved.
Stay curious. Stay engaged. Keep asking those questions.
Absolutely. This deep dive is just the beginning.
That's right. It's just the start of your journey.
There's so much here to learn, so much to explore.
And so much to do.
Exactly. The future is in our hands.
That's right. The future is in our hands. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive, everybody.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time. And until then, keep on exploring.